Welcome to another episode of me talking for 30 minutes, maybe longer, maybe shorter. Because it's the end of the month, I think when I post this video, it'll be August 4th, I think. 4 days before my birthday. Wish me happy birthday. I wanted to make this video about the books that I read in July and also my August TBR because I make these on TikTok a lot. I think I have consistently, maybe for the past like 2 months. Sometimes I fall off. So, we can't all be perfect and beautiful and wonderful, okay? Only some of us. And I am not one of those people, so I apologize. Anyway, July was honestly a busy month for reading for me. Not super busy socially or anything like that. I read 7 books this month. All of them except for 2 were on my Kindle, 2 I listened to. I didn't read any physical books this month just because I did a lot of traveling and moving around. I spent 2 weeks up at my aunt's house, and then I kind of just like went back and forth from my house and my boyfriend's house. So it was a lot of moving around. So I did not have any physical books with me for most of the month, but I always brought my Kindle. I bring my Kindle everywhere with me. So did a lot of reading on that. And I just read a lot faster on my Kindle. So that is also why I got through 7 books this month, which is a big deal for me. But I just kind of wanted to give my reviews of the books that I read and just talk about them. Same old, same old. You know the deal. I will say all of these reviews are spoiler free to the best of my ability. If there are anything that you consider a spoiler, so sorry. I'm so sorry for spoiling something for you. I'm not going to divulge into too many details about the books just in case you want to read them. So yeah, I will try my best to not spoil anything, but if I do, sorry. Let's get right into it. The first book that I read this month, the first book that I finished because I had started it in June, but I took a long time to read it. And I finished it right at the beginning of July. I think like July 1st is when I actually finished the book. And it was Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. Like I said, it took me a long time to read this book because I think, even though in my earlier video I was like, I think I'm reading it the right time, I think I read it at the wrong time. I don't really know. I've about had it with this debate on the order to read Throne of Glass because it genuinely stresses me out and I don't know. And I gave Assassin's Blade 3 out of 5 stars. It honestly was a little bit hard for me to get into the actual book because they were just 4 stories. Like I already had an emotional attachment to Selena, so I could easily get on with her. But with all of the other people, it kind of took a while for me to care about them, for lack of a better term. There were 2 specific characters where I was like, oh my god, that'd be so cute. But because I read Crown of Midnight before, and that she talks about past relationships and things like that, I know that nothing amounted to it, at least in that story. So I was kind of just like, I hate that. All in all, it was still kind of cute. I read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Assassin's Blade back to back. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of like burned myself out with the Throne of Glass story, reading those 3 books back to back. So this month focused mainly on not Throne of Glass, but more specifically on like romance books because I'm also a mood reader. So I was really in the mood just for like something lighthearted and super cute. And that didn't take a lot of like mental energy to really keep up with the story. So I did a lot of just easy romance books and I honestly loved it. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun just giggling and falling in love with more fictional men and just relating too heavily to too many characters. Even though it took me a hot second to start to care about some of the characters in Assassin's Blade, I do think that it's nice to learn the backstory or a little bit of the backstory of these characters because I can only assume that they're going to come back into the story or the next books in the series. So it's nice to already kind of be familiar with them. So that is a positive. So next I'm going to talk about the 2 books that I actually listened to this month, which are Beach Read and Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I had been holding off reading or consuming any Emily Henry work because I was just hesitant about her living up to the hype that she gets on the internet as a whole. but I can safely say she is amazing. I love her so much. She deserves all of the hype that she gets, if not more. Beach Read was actually the second book that I read of hers, or listened to of hers. And after those 2 books, she secured a place on the very short list of mine that is the Instabuy authors. I love her so much. I cannot wait to read the other 2 books that she has out, and I cannot wait for the book that she's releasing, I think sometime this year. I think in like November or sometime early next year. But still, I know it's a roommate's romance, and I'm so excited. I know it's going to be amazing because, so my reviews for these books. I read Book Lovers first. It was a 5 out of 5 star book for me. I love it so much. I love the pacing that Emily Henry has with all of her books. I like the little callbacks that she kind of has, or like just subtle things are mentioned at the beginning of the book and then they come to fruition, or the main guy remembers something that the girl says later on in the book, and it's just so cute and I love it so much. Like I said, she's amazing. Her writing style is just like unmatched, honestly. I'm mad at myself for how long it took me to read any of her books. And honestly, for me, and this is high praise coming from me, I need everyone to know this is such high praise coming from me personally. She is the romance equivalent of Sally Rooney for me. Like, she just has this like unique writing style and such a unique voice, and I love her so much. I will say the same thing about Beach Read. Beach Read is another 5 out of 5 star read for me. It was so cute, so beautiful. I am someone who is not the biggest fan of second chance romances, but for some reason, when Emily Henry writes them, I will eat them up so quickly. Like, I texted Lily while I was listening to the book, and I was like, I think Emily Henry is a god. How did she get me to thoroughly enjoy and root for a second chance romance? It's amazing. I don't know how she does it, but she does, and I love her for it. Augustus Everett, I have no words for him. I love him so much. She also, in Beach Read, she incorporated one of my favorite, like, super specific tropes, which I'm thinking about doing a video on, like, niche tropes that I love. So let me know if you want to hear that. But my, like, super specific or super niche trope that I love that she worked in this book is, like, that the male love interest has just been obsessed with the female love interest for years and she never knew. I love it so much. It's so cute. Him just whispering in her ear, I've read all of your books. Shut up. Like, shut up. It's also such an amazing, like, Grumpy X Sunshine book. I've heard that most of her books are Grumpy X Sunshines, which I love those. She's just great. She's amazing. I could not praise her anymore. I have recommended her to about 3 or 4 people now, and all of them have started reading either Book Lovers or Beach Read, and they all say that they love it. So, Emily Henry, I love you. I am such a big fan of you. Like, I can't wait to read more of your stuff. The only non-romance book that I read this month that wasn't Assassin's Blade was Fourth Wing. I finally got around to reading Fourth Wing. It's been out for about, I want to say, like 3 months maybe, and so many people have been talking about it. It is like one of the most popular books of this year. I finally got around to reading it. I'll start this by saying it is another one of my 5 out of 5 star reads this year. This month had 3, which are honest, I think they're my first 3 of the year. So July was a good month for me. I think the people who had critiques of this book went into it expecting so much more from it because of the high praise. And I'm someone who comes into things with low expectations a lot of the time, especially when it is like a romantasy book or even like a romance book. I come in with very low expectations because I kind of know what to expect from the genre, and I'm not expecting such like complex writing or metaphors or anything like that. Not saying that any book in this genre is not capable of that, but I just don't come in expecting that. And I very much come in, especially to Fourth Wing, I dove into that book expecting the writing style that it had, that there would be a little bit of like hand-holding through the world building. I knew that at Rebecca Yarros. She knew that this was going to be a series when she first started writing this book. So with that in mind, I knew that there was going to be a lot of setup to things that would pay off in other books. So I knew it was going to be a lot of exposition. I knew that it was going to be a lot of explaining how things work in this world and this war college, and just a lot of exposition. So I kind of knew what to expect, and I really did enjoy it. As someone who was a YA dystopian girly when she was young and absolutely devoured The Hunger Games and Divergent and books of that nature when I was younger, this just brought me so much comfort to kind of go back to somewhat of that mindset, but with a little bit of an older tone in a way, because it wasn't, since it's not YA and it is like the new adult romantasy-ish type of things. I liked it. I enjoyed it so much. I read this book when I was up at my aunt's house for 2 weeks, and Lily came and visited me while I was up in Tennessee at my aunt's house, and we actually went to a farmer's market, and I have the candle burning right now. Hold on. We went to a farmer's market and we saw these candles, this girl who had like a little booth of like pop culture candles, and she had book candles, and I was not in the middle, I was almost finished with Fourth Wing. I think it was about 60% of the way done. And look at what she had. Shut up. I immediately bought it, of course. She was having a sale that was like, I think buy 4, get 1 free. So I got 2, Lily got 2, and then I got this one for free. I mean, she is based out of Chattanooga. I will put her little Instagram, like TikTok handle right here, but I love her so much. She was so sweet. Saw me and Lily like freaking out about the book candles, and we picked up the Fourth Wing ones because she had Xaden, Violet, and then just a Dragon Rider candle. And she saw us pick it up, and she was like, "Oh my god, like I just started reading this book, and I had seen all of the things on TikTok, so I knew that I needed to make these candles." And I was like, she's a businesswoman, and I love her. She had Fourth Wing candles. She had ACOTAR candles. She also had, I think she had Edgar Allan Poe. She also had Song of Achilles. She had a whole bunch. And then things that weren't even book related, some that were kind of like book adjacent related. They were like TV shows. She had like The Vampire Diaries, American Horror Stories. She had a whole like slasher genre of candles. She's amazing. I love her. She's so cute. She's got so many candles. I think she sells online too, so go check her out. Anyway, back to Fourth Wing and the things that I kind of love about it. I really liked that this is very much like an introduction to fantasy book. I did not know who Rebecca Yarros was before Fourth Wing. Come to find out, she wrote a lot of romance books before this. So this is her first fantasy book too. And I think she did a pretty good job for someone's first fantasy book and someone's first dive into the genre that is fantasy. I feel like the fantasy genre in general is just such an open-ended genre. Like you can honestly write about anything and be a part of the fantasy genre. I do think she did a pretty good job with her first exploration into this genre. So I commend her for that. And I do think it is a good introduction to the fantasy genre for people who don't typically read fantasy, and that's what she said it was for. So I think that's great. And like I said, I think a lot of the critiques for this book are people who are used to reading fantasy or who naturally gravitate towards fantasy. And as someone who does naturally gravitate towards like fantasy books or romantasy books, I don't think it was as terrible as some people say. I know this one TikToker, I don't remember his name, but he was saying something about how he tried to read Fourth Wing, but he tried to start it like 6 times. And then after the 6th time, he just put it down and he didn't like the tone of it, which is fair. But I did. So that's all I have to say. I do love that she snuck in, for lack of a better term, like the chronic illness rep. Violet has a disability and she always has. She's had it for her entire life. But I love that she doesn't make it like Violet's whole thing. It's mentioned quite a lot, but it's not like a defining characteristic for her. I know that Violet's childhood best friend, Dane, who is in the writer's quadrant with her, constantly brings up that she's frail and fragile and like she's not like everyone else and she's a lot weaker than most people. And that kind of speak from other people to Violet makes her doubt herself. But at least from how I interpreted it, she's never doubted her ability because she has this illness. She does know that she needs to like take a different approach to some things than most people because she has this illness, and she does have like weaker bones is how it's described. I forgot exactly what illness most people or everyone has said that she has. It's not specifically said in the book. It just says that she has weaker bones and they break easier. So yeah, I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed that it wasn't this huge factor in her as a character. It just kind of made her a little bit different, and that was all. Like you saw from my Kindle, I love the somewhat main antagonist but turned love interest in this. This is an enemies to lovers book, which I will say time and time again. I love enemies to lovers. Love it so much. Is the guy who is the love interest in the enemies to lovers relationship. Love him. He is amazing. Again, with another like niche trope that I love is when like the girl's enemy, who also is like very interested in her or is attracted to her, when he or they never doubt the main character. They're always like, no, I know exactly what you can do. You're strong enough to do this. I know that you are capable of doing all of these things. Why are you doubting yourself? I love when they do that, because why are they doubting themselves? Why are you doubting yourself? You are amazing and you are wonderful and beautiful and you can do anything. Why would you ever doubt yourself? Continuing that thought, like I said, I do love a good enemies to lovers book. And I kept hearing people on TikTok, just a few here and there. It's not like a super popular book, but I've heard people talk about the book The Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark a lot. So I found it on Kindle Unlimited and I was like, I'll give it a try, because it kept coming up as like a suggested book whenever I would lock my Kindle. So I was like, fine, I'll give it a try. I kind of went into it blind, not really knowing what it was about. I do this sometimes to where I just start reading books without reading the synopsis, and I kind of just learn what the book's about as I'm reading it. Sometimes it's fun. I like kind of going in blind sometimes. This time it was a little fun. Was not aware that it was a mafia romance. So when that was explained to me within like the first 2 chapters, I was like, okay. So then I had to like mentally prepare myself to read a mafia romance, because if you haven't read a mafia romance, they are interesting and they can get a little dark, and you just have to kind of mentally prepare yourself to read a dark romance whenever you read any dark romances. I'm not new to dark romances, so I kind of knew what to expect, but not really. It was interesting. It was a lot of fun. Gave The Brutal Prince a 3 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I knew kind of what to expect, especially with romance books and then dark romance books. It's kind of your average run-of-the-mill like forced proximity, arranged marriage, enemies to lovers, mafia romance. It follows most of the tropes. The girls from like a rival family, and they hate each other just because of like years of infighting and things like that. So it is very cliche. The main guy, Callum, or I think you'd pronounce his name Callum because he's Irish, so that's how I'm gonna pronounce it. Like in the book, he can be a little possessive, and if you don't like that, it could come off a little jarring. I don't mind it, but even still, it came off a little jarring to me, but not too jarring to make me stop. Obviously, I finished the book. I did find the pacing a little fast for me, but that's also because I'm someone who can't really believe the like insta-love kind of thing. It's not really insta-love, but just like this book takes place, I think, over a month, and within about, I want to say 70% of the way into the book, they both say that they love each other. They don't say it to each other, but like they think it, because it's a dual POV. So in each of their POVs, they're like, I love him, I love her. And I'm like, we've only known each other, like truly known each other for like 3 weeks, guys. But okay. I just thought it was okay. I don't know if I'm going to continue reading that series, because I know it's like I think like an 8-book long series. Not following these same people. It's an interconnected standalone series. So I think the next book follows Callum's little sister, but I read it and it's literally a Stockholm Syndrome romance. Like he kidnaps her and holds her for ransom. So that's interesting. And I was like, and maybe I won't read this because I don't know if I'm gonna like that. So we'll see. Keep you updated, obviously. If I do read it, it'll be in one of these videos. The last 2 books that I read this month, the first 2 books in the Dirty Air series by Lauren Asher, which is Throttled and Collided. I literally like just finished Collided. I think I read both of these in about a week and a half. I read each in about 3 or 4 days. I liked Throttled a lot better than Collided. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion. I have not delved into the Dirty Air fandom to see what the majority opinion is on these books. I have read Lauren Asher books before. I read the first 2 books in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I started the 3rd one. I just wanted to read a different book at the time because I read those 2 books back to back. So I wanted to get away from that series. So I haven't gotten back around to it, but I'm pretty sure I will because I still am interested in that. And I know that the third book is somewhat regarded as the best. I'm pretty sure. I'll double check that. But I think people really like the third one over all the other ones. But like I said, I liked Throttled a lot more. Throttled, to me, was literally just The Deal by Elle Kennedy, but you switch hockey for F1. It had a lot of the same plot points. It was a guy who didn't really want any romance or any relationships or anything like that. And then he meets a girl and he is like, I kind of want to, get with her. And then she turns him down or something like that. And then he changes for the better. He does a lot of self-reflecting. And then he decides that he wants to be with the girl. He has somewhat of a bad relationship with his family and things like that. So it's very similar to The Deal. I liked The Deal. So I liked this book. I did feel very called out by the female main character, Maya, because if you want to know more about me, I just graduated college with a degree in communications and I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. Guess what Maya did? Not only did she graduate around the same time as me in December, she graduated with a communications degree. She's somewhat of the disappointment in her family, meaning she doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life and her parents are worried for her. And she had no clue what she was going to do after graduation. Huh? How do you know that about me, Lauren Asher? That's insane. And also then Maya decides to make YouTube videos, which I am now doing. I hate this. I was like, I'm going to check my room for bugs. What? Huh? It was jarring. But it was so cute. I'm a sucker for sports romances. So I enjoyed it. I gave both Throttled and Collided a 3 out of 5 stars. With Collided, I thought it was okay. I did get slightly annoyed by both of the main characters for different reasons. I got slightly annoyed by Sophie, the female main character in Collided, because Sophie falls into the not like other girls characteristics, which I found somewhat annoying. She hates wearing heels. It's like every time that they go to one of these like fancy galas or events that F1 has, at least in these books, I don't watch F1, so I don't know if those are like real. As from what I've seen of people who have read these books, it's pretty similar to what F1 actually is. Regardless, she would always wear sneakers under her dresses, which go off, babe, but okay. It was like a huge point that she would always wear sneakers. But she loves pasta. She hates working out. She said verbatim she would never be caught dead in a gym. Or like she talks about how Liam, the main guy, had a gym in his house and she said, I don't use it, or I would never go in there. Okay, and what about it? They talk about how short she is and like how petite she is. Okay. This was like the one thing that I could not get over about her. She loves ironic graphic tees unironically. Like at one point, Liam bought her a bouquet of ironic graphic tees. Okay. Like those were always the presents that people got her. Because within the book, it was like Christmas and her birthday and things like that. Everyone just always got her graphic tees. I was like, wow. Okay. Go off, babe. The thing that annoyed me about Liam, I thought he was a cutie. I love me a good like reformed playboy. Love those book characters. But it did annoy me how long it took him to realize that he was in love with Sophie. If I remember correctly, which again, I just finished it, so I should remember correctly, but who knows? It took Liam's best friend / teammate, Sophie's dad, Liam's entire family, and Noah, which was the main guy from Throttled, to tell him that he was in love with Sophie, for him to then think about it a little and then realize that he was in love with Sophie. For more context, he had been like sleeping with her for like 6 months by that point. And every time like they would start doing stuff or things like that, or like start messing around, getting intimate, he would talk about how like she would touch him or like they would hold hands or something like that. And like sparks would go up his arm or something. He's like, I don't know the name of this feeling. I want to be around her all the time. I don't know what to call that. Love, babe. Love. It's love. Jesus Christ. Like, and he's supposed to be 29. And he, okay, sure. That was the one thing that just annoyed me about him. Besides that, he's fine. But I was just like, you're that emotionally inept that you can't realize that you have a romantic attachment to this woman? Really? Okay. Besides that, both of these books, they're so good for sports romances. They are average for their genre. Nothing crazy, but not terrible. So yeah, those are all the books that I read in July. I'm going to talk about the books that I'm going to read this month in August. Last month, like I said, I mainly read romance books. I do have a slight theme for this month. It's genuinely only for like the end of the month because for the last 2 weeks of August. Me and my mom are going to go to the UK. We're going to go to Scotland, England, and Ireland, obviously. And I'm so excited. And I have to be super hot and super mysterious in Scotland, England, and Ireland. So I have to read hot and mysterious books. So that's the theme for those books. But then I'm going to read in August Heir of Fire. So I'm going to continue the Throne of Glass series. Kind of excited at this point. Is it to potentially get it over with? I don't know. People say that the rest of the series is pretty good. This is a series where people are like, oh, you have to get through like the first 4 books and then it gets really good, which I hate those types of series, but it's like, I feel like I have to at this point. Like I've already invested 3 books. I feel like I have to finish it. The book that I'm going to read on my Kindle is actually a debut novel by someone. It's called The List of Things by Emma Miller. This is the first book that she's ever written, but not her first time like writing. Emma, I followed her for a long time. She got really popular for writing a Harry Styles fanfiction called Cherry. I read a few chapters in it. I didn't finish it because I wasn't really into reading fanfiction when it was very popular, which was around like the middle of 2020. And then I just never got back around to it. But I'm excited to read this book. And the synopsis of it, I can put it right here. If you want to read it, you can pause to read it. I'll also link all of these books, the books that I read in July and also the books that I'm going to read this month in the description down below. So it's kind of like a Grumpy Ex Sunshine book. It's also a sports romance, so that's fun. Like I said, love me a sports romance, so I am excited to try it out. From the synopsis, I think it's a really cute book and I think I'm really going to enjoy it. So Emma, I'm excited to read it. Those are the 2 books I'm going to read at the beginning before I go on my cute little trip. But the books that I plan on reading while I am being hot, sexy, mysterious over in the UK is the physical book that I'm going to read is The Idiot by Elf Bateman. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm going to be reading The Idiot. I've had this book, I think, since Christmas of last year. Yeah, my mom bought it for me for Christmas of last year. And I've been meaning to get around to it. And I thought, why not? That is the physical book that I'm going to read. And then the book that I'm going to read on my Kindle is a book that I've been seeing making its rounds a lot on TikTok. And the reason why it piqued my interest is because I saw someone's video and they said that Fourth Wing was their second favorite book that they've read this year. I was like, interesting. It's my favorite book. What book is better? It was this book, which is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. It's on Kindle Unlimited, which was surprising to me. I think just because so many people have been talking about it and not a lot of books that a whole bunch of people are talking about are on Kindle Unlimited. So that was exciting for me. And the short little synopsis that it has on Goodreads is 2 young rival journalisms find love through magical connection. They must face the depths of hell in a war among gods and seal their fate forever. Surprising, shocking. Oh my God, I love it. I'm pretty sure it's like academic rivals. So I love academic rivals. And it's also a little bit fantasy. Love that. I'm so excited to read it. And I think it's going to be so, like I said, so many people have said that this is better than Fourth Wing. So I'm excited to get into it. So those are the 2 books that I'm going to read at the end of the year. Those are all of the books that I'm going to like actually read. And then the book that I plan on listening to this month is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I'm going to continue the Emily Henry train because I love her and I just kind of want to get caught up on all of her books. So I'm going to read that. People We Meet on Vacation is another second chance romance. So I think this is like a pure second chance romance. I'm excited to read it. Like I said, love her work. I will love anything that she puts out. So I'm excited to read it and I can't wait. Like I said, I'll link all of the books down below in the description. If you've read any of these books or if you've read any of the books that I read in July or have already read the books that I'm going to read this month, let me know. Let me know your opinion. Let me know how you feel about my opinion. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow me on most other social media platforms. Follow me on Goodreads to keep up, like to be the most update with what I read. I love updating Goodreads and I love reviewing things on Goodreads. So yeah, I'll also link the candle that I talked about in this video down below and I will see you next week. Love you. Bye.